artists, Miss Barnett here. This week we are going to play around with curved lines to create implied form and direction. What I mean by that is we're going to draw a crazy kind of Dr. Seuss tree. We're going to draw some tree branches, and you're going to need at least 5 large parts of the branches, and you're going to need at least 3 knots, the knotty part, like where they've cut off a piece, right? And we're going to play with some close together lines, some further apart lines, and some wonky lines that have a little bit of a curve in them. And I'll demonstrate what I'm talking about in a minute. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is get your Sharpie fine point, ultra fine point marker. You need that really fine tip. If you don't have this, you can use a pencil. Just make sure that it's very, very sharp and that you continue to sharpen it throughout the process. So get a piece of paper. If you have a sketchbook, that's great. And then you're going to want to either use your own mind, or I like looking at images off the internet. So this is a tree branch, and I just want it for reference. I know that I need 5 big sections, and I want some little parts on here too. And I am going to draw it larger than this, but the other thing that you can do is you can go out into your yard. This is the tree that's right outside my door. It doesn't have any leaves on it right now because it's just that time of year, so I can easily see which direction the branches go. But I'm going to use this one. I think it's a little easier to look at. And I'm going to start from the bottom with my drawing, and I want you to follow along and just kind of watch what I'm doing. We are not going to be drawing just a bunch of stick lines. We're going to be drawing an outline of this. And it's hard because some of them overlap, right? So here's what I mean. I'm going to start from the bottom, and I'm looking at my reference photo. It kind of angles to the left a little because this is a tree and this is not a geometric shape. This is an organic shape from nature, and organic shapes in nature are not perfect. So do not worry about anything being perfect here. So I'm working on getting this first little line, and it looks like there's a little branch right there, and then there's another one that comes up and kind of goes over this way, and it goes off the page, and that's okay. I'm going to continue to draw the outline here, and then it looks like this one here kind of comes up. This does not have to be exactly perfect. Please do not stress out at all about this. Sometimes the ends are pointy and sometimes they're cut off, and both will work, and you will see when we get a little further into this project what I'm talking about. It's going to look just fine. The weirder the better. And at some point you may want to kind of go off grid and kind of just do your own weird little tree, and you don't want these outlines to be too skinny because it will be too hard to get some of your here's the part where it overlaps. So it will be too hard to get your lines in there, and it'll be difficult to see. So that one kind of goes behind this one. So I had to think about that because I don't want to draw the line through it. And then I can pretend that it kind of comes down like this. You want your lines to match up. And I will just kind of pretend like this one comes out here. Kind of do one of these. And it just kind of goes off into maybe somewhere behind there, and we don't really know, and that's okay. So this branch is the behind branch. Okay, so if you look at this one, it kind of comes back up again, and so it kind of curves this way a little, and it does some of these, and now I'm just kind of winging it. I'm kind of looking at that for reference a little, but not too much. Keeping in mind that I need a couple of areas. I need at least 5 big branches. I would say this one back there is pretty big. This one here is big. And I think I'm going to come up like this. Have one coming out here. Kind of curves out like this. And I think I'm going to give it one that goes behind, just to make it interesting. This one come around. And maybe this part's really fat. And I'm going to have this line come down. You always want your lines to match up. So don't draw, but like put your pen right there and then just kind of go like this so you know where it would come out. So this one is going to kind of come like this. I think I'll have it drop behind again. So you have to think ahead a little bit, right? I'm going to drop that one down, and then I'm going to maybe have this one come down back here. And then maybe we don't see that other side. We'll see. Let's figure out what we're going to do here. So that one dropped down. Yeah, that's good. That one's hidden, and maybe it comes out of the back of this. Let's see. Let's have this one be kind of funky and come over here. Remember, this is a crazy Dr. Seuss tree, right? It doesn't need to make sense. So make your funky organic shapes. Have some wonky stuff come off of it, right? And this is just the basic part of the tree, but if you make it weird enough, it's going to be way more fun when you go to put all your lines in. Okay, I feel like I'm done. So let's look at our rubric. We need 5 branches. I definitely have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have more than that. You want at least 5 decent sized branches. We're going to put the 3 knots in, and then we're going to go over the lines now. Let's put our knots in first. So typically when you look at a tree and you see where there's a knot, there's one here. Let me zoom in. There's one right there, and that's typically where it has been cut off. So, and that could be honestly anywhere. I could draw one right here. So you want to draw it, then you kind of want to close it up. Don't leave it hanging in the wind, right? And maybe there's another one here. And maybe this one I'll draw like this. I'll just draw kind of an organic shape. And then kind of like rings in a tree, I'm going to draw some around it. Right? So that's the other one. And then maybe I'll put one right here. I'll do one of those. And they're not always round. Here, we'll draw one here. Sometimes, let's see, is that where I want it? Let's put one right here. Sometimes they're really like this, kind of oblong. It just depends. And when you look at a ring on a tree, when they cut it off, you can usually see how many years old the tree is. So we need at least 3 knots. We've got 4, so we're good. You can put in as many as you want. We're going to try 3 different kinds of lines, and I'll demonstrate that now. So you want to start at the bottom, probably. And if you look at our image from the internet, you can tell that this tree is not flat. You can tell that these branches are curved, right? And it looks like you could pick it up, right? And that is implied form. It's not really a 3-dimensional thing because it's, you know, on a phone and it's flat, like it's flat here. But in a minute, when we're done with this, it's going to look like we can pick it up. So we're going to start drawing our curves, and you can go in different directions. So let me give you an example. I'm going to start drawing these curved lines, and you want to be really careful not to go off the edge, because if you do go off the edge like that, it's going to look weird, like there's something wrong with your tree. So really try to kind of stay in the lines with this. Let's see if I can get this back. There we go. So I'm going to curve mine this way, kind of like smiley face, right? And you can do some close together, like I am here. Or you can start making them bigger. and I want you to not stress about this being a major work of art. This change in the lines here is making the tree look, not only does it give it a rounded effect, but it's giving it, it's changing the direction. So I want you to play around with like skinny lines, fat lines, so that you can kind of learn what all the different lines do. Sometimes in a bigger area of the tree, like this big section here, you're going to have your lines really farther apart, right? Kind of like this. And then as it gets smaller, they're going to get closer and closer and closer until they're almost touching, and it creates a different feeling, right? So this looks like it's coming in more, and this looks like it's coming out more. So you can even make your lines really big like that, right? And then we talked about close and farther away, and then now we're going to talk about wonky lines. So you can do something like this, right, where you put like a little curve in your line, and if you continue that same exact curve, it gives you the illusion that there's a funky twist in that tree, right? So now it looks like it came up and turned in a funky way, and it still has a curve, so it still looks 3D. So we can go this way with our lines, and then we can abruptly switch directions with our line. As long as it's curved, it's going to give you the illusion of form, but we just changed the direction. So this tree branch looked like it was going this way, and then we switched the direction from frowny face to happy face, and now it looks like it's going this way. I'm going to play around with putting a few of them close together right here. And now I'm going to start making them a little bit bigger and further apart, and I'm going to curve them a little bit more. I'm going to go kind of like a deep happy face, if that makes sense. And I think I'm even going to add another little knot right there, like maybe they cut that part off. And then I'm going to switch directions and do frowny face. And this is small and it's going away, further away out, so I'm going to have the lines get smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay, so this is the kind of funky stuff that I want you to do. I don't want you to be too worried about this. We're not going to frame this and put it in a museum. This is an exercise for you to learn and grow and play around with different things and find out what looks good and what doesn't look good. And the only way that we can find out what doesn't look good is to make some accidents, right? So don't stress at all, but I do want you to put in some effort. So now I'm switching direction abruptly, right? And let's see what that does. Let's see what happens. Now I'm maybe going to start doing a wonky line, right? Let's see what that looks like. So what do you guys think when it changes directions abruptly like that? I feel like it needs one more line. Now when we go in and we start adding color to this, you're going to be able to really see like the curves. It looks like it's going in, and then it looks like it's coming back at you, and then it looks like it's going to go back this way again. So we're creating optical illusion art, which is actually a style of art that was super popular in the 60s and the 50s. And we're going to kind of make our own funky psychedelic tree. So I'm playing around with wonky lines. Now I think I'm going to go back to frowny lines. I think I'm going to have them get kind of close together right here. And then I'm going to have them get bigger. But actually smaller, 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 because this is coming to a point, right? So I'm going to stop the video in a minute, but I want you guys to come in and get this done. and really kind of spend some time. Make sure that your lines don't go over the edge because it will be difficult later. If you've already tried this a couple times and you're just really struggling and you feel like you need to erase, then start over and use a pencil. That's okay. It just doesn't show up as well. But if you feel like you really can't trust yourself with a pen, I'm cool with that. Whatever you have to do. Now, because I have these overlapping branches right here, this one's in front, I wanted them to be a little different. I wouldn't have those lines be going the exact same direction. They're both in the same curve, but they're a little bit different sizes. But you can tell that one is behind the other. Here's what you do not want to do. Do not do this, right? Straight across doesn't look right. It looks flat, and tree branches are not flat. They're cylindrical, right? So make some curves, do your little happy faces, do your frowny faces, put them close together. As they get further away, they're smaller, right? Because you can see things really big close up, but as they get further away, maybe they're harder to see, so the lines get closer together. Okay, like the tips of the branches. So I'm going to let you guys go ahead and work on this for a little bit. And then when you're completely done making all of these crazy lines and you have your knots and your squiggly lines and your close-up lines and your far-away lines, then you're going to click on the next video and I'm going to show you how to add value in our crazy little Dr. Seuss tree that is going to have a bunch of colors that don't make sense. So you're going to need to have your colored pencils ready for that one. Okay? Just a little reminder, if you have not picked up your paint yet from the attendance office, you have got to go do that because next week we are getting into paint and you're going to need that. And I'm not going to wait any longer for anyone because we are already in week 3 right now. Week 4 is going to be paint week and I can't wait. I'm excited. It's going to be fun. All right, I'm going to let you go. Carry on with your crazy tree.